Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another AFL Fantasy Fanatics pre-lockout chat ahead of round 14. I'm your host, Bails, and you can find me at BailsDT across the socials. And it's a solo one for me tonight. Unfortunately, Tim's just got some work stuff to do, and Jordan has got dad duty. So I will be going solo tonight. Couldn't get a guest on, but that's okay. I'll be able to answer plenty of questions over the next 50 minutes or so, sort of however long we go. We'll be able to answer all those for you there. But appreciate everyone that's already sent through a couple of questions there I can see. So if you are tuning in live across YouTube or Twitter, make sure you send through your questions in the live chat, and I'll get to answering as many of those as I can. Tonight as well, doing a watch along tonight between Brisbane and St Kilda. So if you guys want to get more questions answered, or just want to tune in and see me watch the game of footy, hopefully not as salty as last week, then make sure you do tune that in. It'd be good to get 100 people tuning into that tonight. We've had over 50 people tuning into the watch alongs. It'd be good to get a big crowd tonight and get a few people tuning into that. So if you are interested, make sure you come and join along and join the fun as we chat fantasy and trades and everything like that. It'd be good as well with no Thursday night footy to chat through some extra things on a Friday night for a watch along. But let's get sort of stuck into the topics of the week. So obviously we spoke on Tuesday night. If you want to go have a listen to our in-depth talk about Freo and Port Adelaide targets coming off the bye, make sure you go and check that out. And then we also chatted about, again, Brisbane, Giants, North and Sydney targets that are coming off their bye. So there's a few guys from there you can look at. But I'll just quickly sort of rattle off a few names here. So I think a few of the guys that we probably want off of that bye coming from round 13 in Freo. Obviously, got the two guys in defence, obviously Luke Ryan and Jordan Clark. I preferred Luke Ryan out of the two. I think he's going to be score more for the rest of the season, and he doesn't have that tag coming in round 16, I believe it is, against Sydney, where I think Jordan will go to Jordan Clark. So if you've got the cash, I'd be going for Luke Ryan there. I like Caleb Sarong. A few people, I heard Mitch saying it as well, a few people have said that he's like Sarong's boring and whatever, but it doesn't matter. Like when all these midfielders are dropping 70s and 80s and all these poor scores, and Sarong's just churning out 100 after 100, I'm happy with that. If I could have 8 midfielders doing that each week, then fantastic. So, I think Sarong's a great target still. Just trying to think. I don't hate the Luke Jackson play for 2 weeks because it covers you for round 14 this week for Max Gawn and next week for an English or a Marshall or whoever you've got in your ruck. If you've got a Cherry or whatever, then I wouldn't worry about it or a Grundy, because you'll just get 2 rucks next week and you're missing Gawn this week. But if you've got a round 15 ruck and a round 14, I don't hate the Jackson play for 2 weeks, but I'm not going to do it. I don't think it's only for those coaches that are that, and they're sort of trying to get an extra player this week. In terms of Port Adelaide, obviously you've got Zach Butters is a solid enough target. I think Rosie back will help Butters there and his scoring. I think Rosie, you could go there because people, if you don't look at you probably don't want to look at the break end, you more look at what he's priced at. And I think he's priced below 90, I believe. So if he's priced below 90, I think he's going to go 105 probably for the rest of the season. He might go a little bit more as well. We saw that early in the year, he can go at 110. So if you're happy to take that small cash hit this week and he's all you can get to, I don't mind getting a Connor Rosie this week. If I had Tom Green, I'd potentially be looking at something like Connor Rosie this week, if that's all you could get to. Dan Houston, don't mind him either. Got a couple of tougher matchups in Giants and Brisbane, but then goes into a pretty good month. If you want to get on him early, I don't mind jumping on him as well. That's probably it from Port and Freo, I think. There's a few. Hayden Young as well, obviously from Freo. I sort of just assume most people have got him by now, but if you don't have Hayden Young, he's another guy from Freo that you could potentially look at bringing into your side. I probably wouldn't look at Brayshaw personally. I don't think he's quite been to what we've wanted him to be this year. I think he's more of a 95 to 100 guy most weeks, and he might go like really well every now and again, but I'd prefer to target those midfielders that are either really underpriced or are going to be top 8. So, and then obviously Brisbane, you've got obviously Dunkley is solid. Zork obviously is probably one of the best targets this week with the matchup. So I'd be looking at Dunkley there. Zorko. Dunkley's solid, as I said. I probably wouldn't look at Neil. I think he's got 3 tags coming in the next 3 weeks. I know St Kilda tonight. I expect Windhager to go to him. He again goes into Port Adelaide. I expect the Drew to go to him. And then he's got, he does have another tag affected game. If I just get it up here. So Brisbane have got Melbourne, and Neil Bullen could go to him, which he obviously went to Dacos. So that's why I wouldn't go for him there. Then they're probably the main ones from Brisbane, sort of move to GWS. I don't mind Tom Green. I'm bringing him in this week, and I'll go through my trades in a sec, but Tom Green's a solid target. If I know he might not be, you're not bringing him in now to be a 110 guy. You're bringing him in if he can be a solid 100 to 105 guy for a month or two, and then you can luxury sideways him later on to a better midfielder and he can make a bit of cash, then great. But best case scenario is he does go back to what he was doing at the start of the year and becomes that top 8 mid that we knew he could be. Whitfield I wouldn't target personally just because he's got Port this week. Could cop maybe McEntee. He went to Stewart, I think, a few weeks ago, so could go to him this week. Then he's got the James Jordan tag after that. Post that, he's got the Crows, could be good. Then he's got Carlton and he's got Chincotta potentially. So I probably wouldn't worry about it. So, I would just leave him. I wouldn't target Josh Kelly. Kieran Briggs, if you're looking for a ruck, been pretty solid the last month or so. 94, 74, 121, 115. Has had 2 good matchups, but he does have Port this week, which is another solid matchup. So if you're looking for a ruck, you want to go a bit different, Briggs potentially, but yeah, I probably wouldn't. And I wouldn't look at like a McMullen. He could be the sub, and it is the last game of the round, this one. North Melbourne, Sheasel, good target. Cherry, good target if you don't have him in the ruck. LDU's a solid target in the midfield as well. Obviously, Zach Fisher's one of the best targets you can get as well if you didn't jump on him last week. Obviously, wouldn't be getting Tom Powell. Josh Simpkin's interesting. I'm bringing him in as well. We'll probably bring him in again to make a bit of cash. Lack of rookies. He's already had the bye. Bring him in for 2 weeks. If he shits the bed after 2 weeks, then you can train at round 16 and bring in someone else. But there is a chance that we always see that there's a couple of these players in the back half of the year that get a role change or have had injuries at the first half of the year. They're fit. Second half of the year, they go well. Simpkin could be that guy in the forward line that goes and averages 95 for the rest of the year. Like, I wouldn't put it past him. I don't expect him to. I expect him to be about an 85 guy or so. Just be solid for a few weeks, and we can luxury trade him to a Jai Caldwell or someone like that in a few weeks. But there is a chance that he ends up going quite well. So Simpkin, I like there. Toby Pink's about the only guy you could go. I'd rather go Schoenmaker because Toby Pink's not really going to score for you next weekend. It'd be in your best 18 anyway. If you've got no players next week and you can't afford to, Toby Pink, you could go. But yeah, I'd rather other rookies. And then Sydney, Heaney and Goulden are the 2 main targets for me. If you don't have either of those 2, they're both great targets. And Grundy as well is a solid target in the ruck. He's been good, averaging 101.3 for the year. He's got 400s in his last 5. So yeah, he's been really, really good. Take out that 53 that he scored in round 1 against Collingwood. Every other game he's gone over 83 except one. So, and it was a 72 against Hawthorn. So I don't mind Grundy as well. I don't think there's no rookies from Sydney, and I don't believe there's any rookies from any of the other teams either. So, and then obviously in terms of rookies this week, Billy Dowling's the top one, -18 break even. If you can bring him in, he's a good target. You've also got Ari Schoenmaker make his debut for St Kilda this week. He's a good target as well. And then you've got a Chu Jath. I hope I've said the first name correctly. He's making his debut for Collingwood. So if you needed someone that's 200k, I'd rather Schoenmaker. I think Schoenmaker could be in the team long term. I think Jath could be the sub. So I'd be going for Schoenmaker there. Toby Pink, if he needs someone with a round 12 bye, it's probably your best bet at 269k. Logan Morris is next as well at like just over 300k, but not going to be a big scorer, over 300k. I'd rather save the 100k and get Ari Schoenmaker and have a less number if you can afford that next week. So that's what I'll be doing in terms of trade targets for the week. Obviously, in terms of trade outs, obviously you're just trading out all you guys on the round 14 bye. Clayton Oliver's the interesting one. I think it's very team dependent if you trade him out or not. I'm holding because I can do my trades around him, and I've got 21 this week. Obviously, with a couple of guys, maybe McCullough could be sub, so I might only have 20. But you could trade because at the end of the day, he's had the role. He just hadn't scored well enough, so you could trade him, and that's fine. But he does no Petrarca now. His game time was up to 83% last week. He was copping crisp stoppages, and that's where Oliver gets a lot of his points. So if he doesn't cop a stoppage tag, then he might be okay. Got North. As I said, posted by, could go quite well. Then he goes into Brisbane, which could be tough. Berry could go to him with no Petrarca. And then he's got West Coast. So it is also dependent on what you can do. Yeah. If you can trade, I'd be happy to trade. I don't think he's going to be top 8 mid. He's on his buy. Perfect on the trade. But if you need him, I don't mind holding as well. Bonner's another interesting one. I'm probably holding him now. I know, and again, if you can trade him and that's what you need to do your trades, then do it. By all means, I'm holding because with Nasir out, we've seen Bonner, when one of those guys are out, can score quite well. So I'm going to hold him in that respect and hope that he can pop a 90 this week and not go down as much, because he's going next week anyway. I've got no rookies on field. I can do my trades around him. So that's sort of what I'm thinking. But again, if you need to trade him, then you can, you can trade him as well. So I don't think there's too many other players I'll trade out. I'll just quickly go with captains as well. So if you didn't check my video last night, I did a video, captain's video on YouTube. So if you haven't checked that out yet, make sure you go to YouTube and check it out. And if you did like it as well, let me know. Even in the live chat here as well, if you guys enjoyed that, if you guys like me to see me do that weekly, then yeah. So let me know. In terms of my top 5 this week, sort of no surprise. Zorko's number 1. He obviously has got Saints this week. We saw what Gold Coast defenders did last week, like Flanders, Sexton, Jeffrey, Collins, Ballard, Bodie Hewland, all going big. I think all of them went over 110 except for Ballard, but still had 10 marks and a 90 on. And when does Ballard get 90? So, yeah, Zorko is if you've got him, he's just an automatic VC essentially. You could go something like a Dunkley or whatever as a VC tonight if you want to go different, because we do see sometimes when a popular VC is there, everyone goes to him, he fails, then everyone's going to find something else, whereas you might have another 2 cracks. But I think it's that good of a matchup, you just can't afford not to. I think this one, I think that if people were thinking what I was just saying then, I'd be thinking, no, you've got to do Zorko if you've got him. So Zorko is my number 1. I got Luke Ryan at number 2. We have seen the Dogs can give up points. They have been a little bit sort of iffy in terms of they've been more of a neutral matchup this year and have been like Zorko only got 96 last week, but Zorko did get burned a fair bit. And I think it was a couple of weeks ago in the wet on the Giants guys. I know Nick Haynes went really, really well. Himmelberg went well, and Whitfield all tunning. So I still think the Dogs are still a solid enough matchup, especially a guy like Luke Ryan, who taking all the kickouts. He, like John Clark, will get the attention if anyone does tag someone back there. And he's been too good the last 5 weeks that if you've got him, you might be able to take that advantage by doubling up on him and captaining him, because those people that don't have him aren't going to get his score, whereas you be captaining him, you're obviously going to get 2 of his score. So, yeah, I like Luke Ryan, number 2. Number 3, I do have Errol Goulden up against the Crows at Adelaide Oval. If it was the SCG, he'd be probably number 2 for me. I think just Adelaide Oval, I just have Luke Ryan ahead, just with the form. The Crows, like, they've been a shambles the last few weeks, but it would not shock me. This is the sort of game that the Crows would turn out for. I'm not saying they're going to win. If they can get close, fine. But it could be a competitive game. I think I saw something like the last 3 games for the Adelaide and Sydney have been decided by combined 7 points. So it could be a close game. But I still expect Gordon to go well. That's the only reason I've just got him behind Luke Ryan, though, but still a great option if you wanted. He's probably the safer captain option than Luke Ryan, I'd probably say. That number 4, I've got Caleb Sarong against the Dogs. We saw Lockie Neal did last week to the Dogs. Dogs giving up points to mids last few weeks. I know that Ed Richards is back, Libba's back, so it might be a little bit trickier this week for mids, but Sarong is a safe option. I think a lot of people got Zorko, so you're probably going to VC Zorko into Sarong. That's a pretty good place. I'd be doing that. I wouldn't go VC Sarong, I don't think. I'd rather VC Goulden and go into a Flanders or someone on the Sunday. But yeah, that's what I'll be doing there. And then number 5, I do have Josh Dunkley. I just think the Saints match up. I know Dunkley hasn't been in amazing form from like round 6 onwards, but I just think the Saints match up. If Neil does get the tag, Dunkley's going to have to step up. So I think that Dunkley could go quite well. So he'd be on my number 5. Just the other options I like Jordan Clark against the Bulldogs, potentially as a VC shout if you didn't have a Zorko. Tristan Cherry and Zach Fisher, I like on the Sunday against Collingwood as well. Jack Crisp I like against North Melbourne. I'm just going through the games in my head here. I like Nank Curvis if you somehow have got Nank against Hawthorn. Meek's giving up points. Don't mind Taranto as well. yes, probably. I think that's probably the ones I've probably covered most of them. If I haven't covered any names there, put them in the comment, the live chat here, and I can let you know what I think about them as a potential captain option. So yeah. Also, we've got over 100 people watching now. So if we can get 100 likes on the stream here, it only takes 2 seconds. You just click a like, and it really does help out the channel. So that hopefully can get some more subscribers as well into the channel as well. So make sure you do go and smash the like. And if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do. We're trying to hit 2.5K on YouTube, and 3K is our main goal as well. So if you want to subscribe, then feel free. We do have a super chat here from Power Prawn Star, so thanks, mate. So McRae to Shinemaker, Bonner to Rosie, and Wilson to Simpkin, 500K in the bank next week. Or do I go Reed to Shinemaker, Bonner to Ryan, and Wilson to Simpkin, no money in the bank with McRae? So McRae to Shinemaker, Bonner to Rosie, Wilson to Simpkin. I would probably go the second option, Reed to Showmaker, Bond to Ryan, Wilson to Simpkin, because you get McRae this week. You're trading him next week anyway. So that 500K in the bank is just McRae. So I would hold McRae this week, have an extra scorer, and trade him next week if you can do that Power Prawn Star. That's what I'd prefer to do, because McRae can pop out an 80 or a 90 plus score, and it might count for you. So that's why I would keep McRae. But don't mind both options either. So yeah, don't mind it at all. I think I've probably covered most stuff. I think we can probably get into the questions now. Yeah, I reckon we'll get stuck into the questions. So if you are tuning in live on YouTube or Twitter, put your questions in the live chat on either platform, and I'll answer as many as I can. So, and also if you are listening to the podcast as well, and you're sort of free on a Friday afternoon or Friday evening at 6 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Perth time, why don't you head over to the live? Obviously, I'm normally not solo. I'm normally with Tim and or potentially Jordox or whatever. We do have Liam actually jumping on in about Liam for a free kick in maybe 5 to 10 minutes. So that'd be good to have someone on. So I'll answer a few questions before he does jump on. And yeah, and if you'd also like to leave a super chat and get your question guaranteed to be answered, there is a super chat button there if you would like to do that. But as long as you get your question liked and subscribed, then that's all. That's all we want. So thanks for doing that as well. So Figliameno, Logan Morris, a good rookie to cover for next week because I don't trust McMullen and Kruger. Yeah. I don't. So what is Logan Morris's price? I know he's just over 300K. So Logan Morris is priced at 321. So what's that? Just over 30. So just under 30K more expensive. If you obviously don't need that 30K next week, I don't mind it because I think they're probably going to score very similar. I know Kruger went well last week. He kicked 3 goals for that. He's got the bye next week. He's injury prone. You could go Logan Morris. You could. If you do need someone to cover this week and next week, you could go Morris. So I don't hate it, but I'd still prefer Sean Maker. I'd prefer Dowling's my number one. I think I prefer Sean Maker still because I think they can. I think Sean Maker could potentially pop an 80 and be one of your top sort of 18 scorers. And if he gets a 70, then there's a chance he is in your 18 as well if you get a few scores that are lower. So I still like Sean Maker over him, but I don't mind Morris. Matt Haybales, thoughts on Sweet to Kruger, McAuliffe to Dowling, and Wilson to Ryan. Leaves 150K in the bank for Sharp to Merritt next week. On face value, I like trades. Yep, Sweet to Kruger's fine. McAuliffe to Dowling, yep, is good. And Wilson to Ryan's good. Obviously, just be careful because you're bringing in Kruger and Dowling, who are both on round 15. So if you can make it work and you've got enough and you've got 20 numbers next week and you're fine, then go for it. But I'd probably prefer to bring in just Dowling, and if you already had Dowling, just Kruger, and maybe look at a Toby Pink instead, or even a Logan Morris, just to have that extra number for the next couple of weeks if you need 2 downgrades. But obviously you're going Sweet down, so you probably need a ruck. So that's probably why you're doing it. But maybe you just hold Sweet for the week and you downgrade him next week to maybe or someone, or just maybe downgrade him post buys to a red dot and you can use that cash on your field. So yeah, tricky one, but I don't mind it if you can make it work. T. McManus, Bonner, Oliver, and McAuliffe to Sean Maker, Zorko, and Simpkin. Tick. Yep, I'll tick it. Bonner could go quite well this week, but obviously he's got a high break even. Make your trades work. It's fine. Oliver to Zorko is good. And you're upgrading obviously you're going McAuliffe down, but you're going Bonner to Simpkin, who could be a good play for 2 weeks. So yeah, I'll be ticking it. Yep. Will O'Mani, hey guys, which two of Goulden, Ryan, and Sarong would you be bringing in? So this is a team dependent one. This is depending on how if the cash saved, if you need the two cheaper guys, because Goulden and Sarong are cheaper. So if you need the money, you'd probably go those two. I would prefer to go Luke Ryan, Errol Goulden as the two. I think the buys is the perfect time to be bringing in these guys like a Zorko, like a Luke Ryan, because Luke Ryan's break even's 90, right? If he goes and drops a 120 this week against the Bulldogs or more, he's going to be potentially close to 1.05 million. And then he's got a good run. I think he's got Gold Coast, Sydney, but then he's got a great run of it's like all the easy teams in like 4 weeks post that. Like it's crazy how good their run is after that. So he's got Gold Coast, Optus, Sydney SCG, bit tricky. Gold Coast could be okay because it's Optus. Sydney SCG is tricky. Then he goes into Richmond, Hawthorn, Melbourne, West Coast. So and he obviously got the 161 against Richmond earlier in the year. Hawthorn he hasn't played yet, but we know they can give up points, and it is down at Utah Stadium. Then Melbourne obviously just scored the 142 against. So obviously West Coast he didn't do too great, but they did get smashed in that game. I expect Fred to be better in that game. So I would go Luke Ryan and Errol Goulden personally. But if you need the cash saved, then Goulden and Sarong. They're all great options. So that's why it doesn't matter too much. Matt Kruger surely takes Mason Cox's role while he's out. It's a good point. Yeah, so he's probably in the team post to buy. So, I don't mind Kruger. It's just if you need the cash saved and can get a Schoenmaker instead, then you probably do that. But I don't mind the Kruger play. Power Prawns say, hey, Bales, how you doing, mate? Hope you're going well. Sean, if Dacos is a late out, would you keep Oliver and trade him or just keep the same trades? So, Sean, it's been pretty much confirmed. McRae said that Dacos will play. So, I wouldn't be too worried about that. So, if your trades are fine, I'll just be keeping the trades as they were. Matt, hey, Bale, sweet to... Oh, that's the same question before. Chris Gow, is Kruger still a good get, or should I jump on the more recently named rookies in Schoenmaker or Jath? If I was to rank those three, I'd go Schoenmaker, Kruger, Jath, just because I think Jath could only be in for a week, and he might even be the sub. He's on the bench, named on the bench. So I would be going for, Schoenmaker out of him, but then Kruger's probably next one. Jake Sutton, hey, Bales, what's your thoughts on fielding 20 this week and holding Oliver to trade to Rosie next week, who will go down in price, and trading Wilson to Simpkin, Les Sharp to Merritt next week? Don't mind it. Yeah, if it all makes sense. So if you've got that plan in place, then I like it. I don't mind at all. Sean, how many primos do we have? Do you guys have this week and next week? So I'm not sure about next week, but this week I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. If I count Bonner, 5, Goulden 6, Sarong 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. If you're counting Bonner, Simpkin, Powell as primos or whatever, then I've got 17. If you don't, I've got 14, 15 or whatever, if you're going to count any of them. So, I've got 14 genuine premiums with those three are better than rookies. So, I've got 17 decent enough scores, I think, this week. Next week, I know I've got Dacos on bye. Bonner will be gone. I've got Dawson on bye, Bont on bye, Steele on bye, Marshall on bye. So I got 5, but then I get 1, 2, 3, 4. I get 5 back on field. So I'll have the same this week as next week. So I'll have 14 or 15 both weeks, which I don't think is too bad. Power Prawn Star, do we think Luke Ryan is overpriced? I've got 18 this week, 20 next week. I've been crap for the first 2 rounds. Think this round will be big. I don't think Luke Ryan's over. No, okay. Technically, you could say he is, but based on his form, he's not. Based on his form, he's averaging over 130. So he's priced. I think he's priced like 118 or something like that. So, it's just a case of he is such a good player that I think you just pay the money if you can. If you can afford it, and it doesn't break your team. Again, if you need the cash saved and you still have a couple of rookies off on field, then I wouldn't be bringing him in. But it's probably just dependent on each of your teams. Hopefully we got Liam jumping on within the next 5 minutes or so. We can talk about a few things and then maybe answer a few more questions there. Where's the next question? Yeah, power prawns, I think about 4 to 5 primos on buy is about par. Yeah, I hope so. I hope that's about par in terms of what will it be. Instead of Jackson, his Briggs a 2-week play, says Anthony Beresford. Yeah, I don't mind it. Yeah, yep. He's had 2 good games in a row. What's his break even? Obviously, he has had 2 easy matchups as well. Briggs's break even is 66, so he can still make a bit of money. If you do have the extra, what is that? Is it 100K? Yeah, no, about 90K. If you got the extra 90 odd K to get Cherry, I would prefer Cherry instead. If you can get him, that's what I'd prefer. But if it's the best you can get to, Briggs, then I don't hate the idea of a 2-week play. If you didn't have a Gorn, you could maybe bring Gorn in round 15 or post the buys, or you can bring in a Marshall or something like that post the buys. Or you can even have a look and see, is it Marshall, is it Cherry? And then you can bring in the ruck R2. So I don't mind it. Yeah, I would like Nank Power Prawn stuff. It wasn't for his buy next week, but he's got the buy, so I just don't think I could be bringing him in. Post buy, maybe. Yeah, post buy, you could look at it. Best round 12 rookie, could GWS rookie start, says the Colonel 96. He could. The only 2 you've really got, though, because McMullen could be sub, and he's probably likely to be sub because he's impactful as a sub. So, and a few guys come back as well. I wouldn't be bringing him in, I don't think. In terms of round 12, you've really only got Logan Morris and Toby Pink. Depends what position you need. Yeah, I don't think either are going to count towards your best 18. So, yeah, I'm not too sure. I'm just saying a look. So, yeah, Mullen's on the bench with O'Halloran, who kicked 4 goals last week. Leck, Aaliyah, Aaron Cadman, and Harvey Thomas. It's literally going to be Mullen or Thomas if they're going to name from the bench. So, and you'd think it'd be McMullen. So I wouldn't be bringing him in. Yeah, so it's either Pink or Morris for me. Corey Butledge, thoughts on Clark for Dowling, Closey to Schoenmaker, and Sexton to Jordan Clark. I don't mind the Jai Clark to Dowling. I still think Jai Clark could be useful next week. He's got a low break even, can still make a little bit of cash, which could be handy for your final upgrades or luxury trades. Closer to Schoenmaker, I like. I'm doing that exact move this week. And then Sexton to Clark. I wouldn't be trading Sexton. I know you get Jordan Clark in that scenario, but I think you can probably make a better upgrade by keeping Sexton and using the cash on top of someone. I just think Sexton is a top 6 forward, top 5 forward. I know Will Power comes back next week, but I'd be watching for a few weeks with Will Power back in to see if that does affect Sexton much, because you don't want to trade him out and he's a top 5 forward, and then you've got to bring him back in. So I wouldn't be trading Sexton if you've got enough numbers. Chris Stone, would you be taking Sarong or Goulden if choosing between the two? I'm Goulden for me, I think. I don't know why. Maybe both are great options. I guess I'd go Goulden because Sarong's probably more of a tag target than what Goulden is. That's probably what splits it for me. Both are great. If you need the extra 15K or whatever, I think 16K between 16K can make a difference for trades next week. Sarong's the option, but Goulden for me is the one I'd be going. But yeah, it's close. It's a good one. Rids, Bont also Crook and Libber and Richards back. Yeah, I did obviously hear that Bont is not feeling too well, but apparently he wasn't. Apparently he was sick leading up to the Collingwood game, and we know we did in that Collingwood game. So hopefully he can do something very similar against Freo. That'd be nice. Xavier Barker, hey Bales, which duo, Orko and Ari Schoenmaker or Clark and Kruger? I like this question. It's a good one. I would be going Zorko and Schoenmaker, though, because I think Zorko's, again, Saints this week, you want that. VC, you can chuck it on him as well. I'd rather Schoenmaker over Kruger as well. So I think, I'd be going that. I like Jordan Clark, though, as an option. He's not too bad, and he could be pretty solid. Just that tag in a few weeks worries me a little bit. Wonder how Cherry will go with Teakle in, probably forward a tad more, says Sean. Yeah, it will be interesting to see, and that's why probably you could Anthony's question before about Briggs could be a good 2-week play, because you could look at Cherry for a couple of weeks, see how he goes, and then you can bring in whatever ruck. If you've got Gorn, you could then bring in whatever ruck you want post to buy, and you can look at the best one. So, yeah, that's that one for. Team Flame. So if Zorka goes big, will you say you were right? Oh, no, that was just commenting on Reese's stuff there. So thanks, Reese, putting in the captain stuff there. Yes, I answered that one before. We've got a few double questions. I appreciate people putting in, so I didn't miss their question. Gamer J, thoughts on Will Lorenz, Port player playing his first match? Is he even playing? I didn't think he was playing. I thought he was on the extended bench, but wasn't named. No, he's not playing. So Rosie, Lord, Williams, and Quinton Arkle came in. Burton, Dixon, Finlayson, and Lockie Jones out. So yeah, Will Lorenz isn't playing. Gamer J. Who have you guys your top 6 defenders? Tony Ford. Who have I got my top 6 defenders? That's a good question. I think I've got Luke Ryan. Probably I'll try and go in order. I got Luke Ryan 1. I just don't think I could put him outside of being number 1 because of the form. I still do have Nick Dacos at number 2. Number 3. I'd probably still go Nick Martin at 3, just because I think no matter what role he plays, he's going to be good. So he'd be 3. Number 4 would be. Part of me wants to go Hayden Young because of just how consistent he's been. And he just really hasn't let us down much this year. So I'll go Young 4. 5 and 6 is tricky because there's a few names. Like you got Sheasel. I think Sheasel's probably got to be in there. Just he seems to score well wherever he is. Jordan Clark probably needs to be in there as well. Max Holmes has been a bit disrespected, I think, this year, just with how good he's been. Crispy has been good as well. Depends if he can keep that for the rest of the season. I don't mind Nick Newman as a bit of a play in the back half. I think we saw what he did last year. Jack Sinclair was good last week. Bailey Dale. Dan Houston's been solid as well. There's a few options there. I'll probably say, Ryan, Dacos, Martin, Young, Sheasel, and I'll probably have Jordan Clark in there just with how good he's been. But there is a lot of good names there. So, yeah, I don't mind it. Zach, thoughts on O'Meara instead of Simpkin? O'Meara's getting good mid time on ground and scores are improving. I don't think I looked at him and pick him up in draft, O'Meara, but there's just too many guys in front of him. You got Sarong, you got Brayshaw, you got Fife, you got Young. Sarong, Brayshaw, Young, Fife. Matt Johnson goes into some CBAs. I couldn't trust it. Whereas Simpkin, captain of the football club, played well last week, got decent mid clock. So I would be going for him instead. So I wouldn't worry about O'Meara. Baden Cummins Green has liked the video. Thanks, mate. Very much appreciated. I know that obviously captain of Bandits of Barbados, mate. Hopefully you can get back up near the top after a couple of tricky weeks, last couple of weeks. But hopefully go quite well. Team Flames, Bales, bring in Green or Simpkin plus extra cash. Already bring in Zorko. I'd be going Green out of the two. I still expect Green to get back to some form. Whereas Simpkin was sort of a bit unsure. We'll bring him as a buy play. If he can go well, great. If he doesn't, we trade him. I would be going Tom Green in first. And you can always watch Simpkin this week. Weasel Jenkins, Goulden or Zorko to get in? Zorko this week, I think. Just that matchup's too good to ignore. So I'd be going Zorko. But Goulden also, great option. I like both. And it's not much cash between the two, but yeah, I like both. The Colonel 96, if we don't have 22 playing next week, do we still trade Whitfield versus Sydney next week, or do we hold him because the 60 is better than one less player? It's a good question. Probably a good one for next week, mate, to probably ask that one. Probably depends how many you've got. If we've got a lot of people, then you probably can trade. But it's probably team dependent for that one as well. But it is a possibility if you've got enough numbers. If you've got 20, especially you've got 22 as well. Brad McLeod, please help me split Goulden or Zorko to bring in. Zorko better matchup for this week, but Goulden seems better in the long run. It's a good point. Yeah, I agree with that. I'd still be getting Zorko though, just with the lack of forwards. We just need to get him. It's as simple as that. And the matchup this week as well, that sugar hit that you want, I'll be doing that. Jack Shanley, is Bont going to play and will Dowling be the sub? So Bont apparently, by reports, is looking like he'll play. So, he just obviously might not be 100%, obviously being ill this week. And then Dowling sub, he could be. We don't typically see, though, the subs being named from on the field, and he's been named on the field in the forward pocket. So I would expect the sub to be someone from that bench, if it's a Sam Berry or someone like that, from the Crows. But there is a chance he is. I think he played too well last week. I think it would be a mistake from Matty Nicks to put him sub. He played that well last week. The Crows fans, living in Adelaide, the Crows fans are pretty angry at the moment, to say the least. So I think he's got to be. Even a Schoenberg could be the sub instead. So I think Dowling will play. I'm not too worried about that. But if he is, then everyone's going to have him anyway. Sean, hopefully McMullen gets a full game because his points per minute is nuts. Yeah, I know. It would be good if he did, but unfortunately, he's just been that sub guy at the moment. John, why is everyone so cold on Kruger? McRae loves him, and clearly they want him in the Cox role, who's out for a while more. And yeah, that's why he's not a solid. That's why he's a solid option. I'm not saying that. I'm just wanting to save the 95K and get Sean Maker in because it helps my trades next week because I can get the guy I want. But again, if you can get Kruger this week and you can watch Sean Maker, then yeah, by all means, Kruger's probably going to make more money. I just prefer Sean Maker over Kruger. Baden Cummins Green, Matt Johnson in for the Dockers might affect O'Meara. Yeah, it's a good point. Yep, he's back in stats. That could affect him. Is there a chance Sean Maker scores 90 plus? Does that make him almost a must-have? I wouldn't say he's a must-have, but he scored against North Melbourne the preseason. He scored like an 83 with 11 marks. So they clearly want the ball in his hands. He's got a wonderful kick, long kick as well. So yeah, I like it. I like Sean Maker as an option. Billy Smith, which combo do you prefer? Clark Walsh and Rosie. Clark Walsh, Rosie, or Rosie. Oh no, hang on. Or Ryan Walsh Merritt. Ryan Walsh Merritt. Clark Walsh, Rosie. I'd prefer Ryan Walsh and Merritt for me. It is Ryan Walsh and Merritt for me. Merritt, I think I'd rather have Merritt over Rosie, and I'd rather have Ryan over Clark. So, but that doesn't sort of make sense because Merritt and Ryan are both more expensive. So maybe you mean Ryan Walsh and Rosie or Clark Walsh and Merritt. So I don't know, but I'm not sure. But we do have Liam on from Free Kick, mate. How are you?
I'm good, thanks, Bails. How are you going? Have you actually come up with some trade plans yet?
Yes, I have, mate. Good segue because I haven't actually said what my trade plans to anyone yet. So, my trade plans, I am going Closey down to Sean Maker on my bench, then going Darcy Wilson to Josh Simpkin, and going Hugo Garcia up to Tom Green. Which Tom Green, I'm not absolutely in love with, but I'm sort of bringing him in thinking he's got to turn his form around at some point. Best I can get to. I'll keep Bonner for the week with Nasir out, and then Bonner will go to Zat Merritt next week. That's the early plans. What about yourself? What are you looking to do with your trades this week?
Yeah, look, I've been umming and ahhing over the last 48 hours. Kind of narrowed it down to two plans. One is to bring in Dane Zorko and Arishal Maker and Dan Houston as well with Windy, Clary, and Reed to go out. But at the moment, I've settled on going with Simpkin instead of Houston, banking a fair chunk of cash in the hopes that it'll allow me to bring in Merritt and another premium next week.
Yeah, love it. Yeah, I don't mind it. I think Merritt is almost going to be the consensus best trade in target next week, I think, with his run home and how good he's been this year. So that's why I'm making sure that he's the guy that I want to bring in. What are your thoughts with Simpkin? I'd be interested to get your thoughts on what you think Simpkin can do. I think it's a low risk play just because we're in the buys, and worst case, you can always trade him post the buys. What are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, look, as I said on Tuesday, I don't necessarily love the stability of North and what they've been doing in their midfield week to week. But the thing that kind of tips me over is just like getting comfortable of his scoring pedigree, particularly at the back end of last year. He was still going at a low 90s. And the fact that he's captain, I think that over a 2 to 3 week period, it sounds as though Clarko really wants him to get back to what he sees as his best, which he definitely did at times last year. And best for him is mid-90s. I'm not expecting that. I'm probably expecting something high 70s, low 80s. But as a 2 to 3 week play for someone with a break-even that's I think high 30s. It's 38, 39.
I think it's like 33 or something, I reckon. I'll have a look.
Yeah, it's definitely low. I'm okay doing it, particularly because for me, it's sitting here going,
33.
I don't really like. I think Dan Houston's going to be someone we'll probably want to bring in. He's got a good run coming up from around 16 onwards. And I considered it a lot more heavily after we saw that Ryan Burton was out last night. Just that gives him a few extra kick-ins. But I don't love it, and I don't necessarily feel like he's guaranteed to be best at top 6 defenders or in that kind of blanket 5 to 8 or 9 or whatever you want to call it for the rest of the year. And I know that at times at this point in the buys, I'll force a trade because that's the only group of players that I can bring in this week with the cash that I've got and the players that have to go. Whereas I'd much prefer to be looking at Zeret and then Sam Walsh, or I might even bring in Max Gawn next week. It just makes me feel a lot more comfortable with my side coming out of the buys and knowing that, okay, Simpkin's probably not going to hang around for a long time, but if he makes his 80-odd K for someone like Harley Reid that I was planning on trading out anyway, I feel a bit more comfortable with it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you're getting Harley Reid. If you get Harley Reid out, then he's going to miss next week as well. Oh, no, sorry, not Harley Reid. You're talking about Zach Reid, aren't you?
No, Harley Reid.
Reid's missing next week as well. Yeah, it is Harley Reid. Yeah, Harley Reid's missing next week. But I think Zach Reid actually is going to be missing a fair bit as well. Is he here for the year? Is that?
We haven't had it confirmed. He went in for surgery and they set a 8-week timeline. So that would take him at minimum 8 weeks. And so that would take him through to, round 23, round 22. So for all intents and purposes with how I know that the Bombers are extremely cautious and conservative when it comes to bringing players back from injury, I would be surprised if we see him again this year. So sadly, that's a player that's put in one effort as a scoring player in my team in round 1, and then he's done nothing for me since then.
Yeah, unfortunately. And he'd be a red dot for, I think, a lot of us for the rest of the year. So, what are you doing? Do your captain and vice captain this week?
Well, given I'm bringing in Dane Zorko, he's coming right in. And hopefully I won't have to think. Hopefully
Barnett
after that.
Barnett will be your captain or someone.
Barnett, yep. Noah Anderson, reward someone that I like with the C this week that's on bye. And then if that doesn't work, I've got a bit of time to think between Tim English, Errol Goulden and Isaac Heaney. So it will probably come down to what other scores that might happen between Zorko playing and if he's not got a captainable score, what am I up against and what am I trying to search for? If I'm trying to just go for something consistent, I'll probably just go Heaney. He's been, 105 to 115 most games this year, and that might be the score that I'm looking to lock in.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. Definitely get that. I think I'm going, Zorko, hoping a Barnett, but if not, it'll be Luke Ryan will be my captain, I think. I think his form, for me, has just been too good not to put the captaincy on him. And Dogs, I know, have been a bit iffy in terms of they have been giving up points and other games haven't given up as many. I think Luke Ryan's a guy that can score pretty well against them. So I know he only got an 86 or something against them in the year, but I'm hopeful that he goes pretty well this week. So hopefully. So we'll just answer a few more questions here. So Seth Mart's got this one: Sheasel or Jordan Clark or someone else 940k or below. So what are your thoughts on Sheasel, Clark, and anyone else?
Does it have to be a defender is the key question, probably?
I would imagine so, just because unless they got DPP, but they're probably going DPP they've got as a Fisher or something and bring in a forward. But I guess Heaney's probably the guy that you could look at potentially if you know. But I think everyone's got.
What was it,
Heaney,
955 or 954?
940 or below.
Oh, 940 or below. Otherwise, I was going to say Caleb Sarong would be my my number one suggestion. So Sheasel after he's moved to the midfield, and we've seen a better role. We've seen 119, 106, and 104 coming up with a middling or a couple of decent enough fixtures, and then gets hard for 3 weeks. And then it's Jordan Clark is the other option. I think I probably prefer Sheasel because I see fewer worlds where I go, fuck, I need to trade him out because of a tag incoming versus Jordan Clark. I think that his current form is unsustainable. Yeah, you'll make a bit of cash, but it very much comes down to then your team construction and are you going to be happy with trading him out, knowing that he's got a 2-week stretch of Carlton and Sydney rounds 18, 19. And Sydney, James Jordan tag already gone to him once this year. And then I don't even think Carlton would need to send a tag per se. It's just that they're an extremely difficult team to score against in transition. So that would be that would be the point you'd want to jump out. Whereas Sheasel, I think I probably envisage holding him for the year.
Yeah, I agree as well. Yeah, it's a tough one. I like both. Sheasel, if you want to sort of match people, is probably the player I like most. And as you say, because the thing with Freo, they have played they played Collingwood, Melbourne, and I'm forgetting one other team they've played in the last 3 weeks. They played like 3 really easy teams.
They had St Kilda as well, didn't they?
Yeah, St Kilda. Yeah, that's right. Yes, they've had 3 really, really easy matchups where Clark's gone really well. Before that, though, he was just like the consistent 90s guy. So I'm still thinking that he might just go back to being a consistent 95 to 105 guy for the rest of the year. But then again, he's got some good matchups post that James Jordan tag. So, I don't mind it. One thing that we'll probably ask you, Liam, is do you think Brendan Cox coming in could affect Jordan Clark? He apparently might be back in next week.
It might take the top of the top off, but we've already seen, even with the Ryan and Clark scoring explosion, there's also been a boost in points for Heath Chapman. In that time, I think he's got 80 and 90 after he'd actually been in the 50s and 60s after he'd come back from injury. So I don't think it'll massively impact them. We've seen before when Fremantle are playing this extremely high, ball control style of play, Brendan Cox is also still able to score well at the same time as Clark and Ryan, as we kind of saw at parts last year.
Yeah. No, it'd be interesting to see what happens when he comes back in. Nasai Wanganeen-Miller, a few people have just been asking about trading him out and maybe getting a Zorko in for him. Would you be trading Nasai Wanganeen-Miller? The fact he's out this week, he's out next week as well. Then I think he's got Port Adelaide first game post to bye.
I don't think so. Well, this probably then does come down to where he ranked and how many people do you think you've got in your side that'll be in best 22, because I feel pretty comfortable in saying that Nazire is someone who will be in that kind of, if we say that there's like a top 4 defenders or top 5, there's a blanket to be thrown over 6 through 10. I said 7 or 8 before, but I think that there's a pretty good clumping in that high 90s area. If you're comfortable trading out someone that I feel pretty confident in saying will be there, then sure, you can trade him out. And if it helps you buy structure, by all means, go ahead. But I wouldn't be personally advocating it in a lot of cases because I do see him as that kind of high 90s averaging player. And he's also someone that has typically scored well in the back half of the year. He's done it each of the last 2 years. So I'd be hesitant to go, yeah, all right, he's out. He's got to go.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. I'm just seeing here, I just forgot about this as well, that Lions do play the Saints twice in the next 8 weeks.
Yes.
So, yeah, that is.
And I don't know if you've discussed this yet, Bails, but we do now have some subs and late changes for
I'm seeing Tom Campbell. I'm seeing people saying Tom Campbell late in.
Yes, that's the big talking point now. In for Cooper Sharman as a late out.
Oh man. Why to get Ryan Marston?
Bales, you did it in spite of enlightened colleagues suggesting that it was a risky move.
Yeah, well, no, who did I bloody go? I can't even remember if I went to Marshall now.
Did you go Sherry to Marshall?
Oh no, I went Goldie to Marshall. Sorry.
Oh right, yes, you had Goldie.
I'm still happy with that, but I wish now I went back to Cherry. I should never. This whole sweet trade is bloody still biting me, and it's like how many weeks moved past it. Hopefully Marshall will put up a ton anyway.
Sanch said it perfectly on Hat Chat this week, and he and I have chatted about it already. If that opportunity comes up in another season for an experienced ruck to come in, at a really low price, that's the kind of move you need to make to really rock it up. You need to take those kind of risks, and I do it again. I'm not going to allow it to really push me out of doing that kind of trade again. It was a very bizarre, random set of circumstances that conspired against us. I think he'd still be playing in the team if it wasn't for COVID.
Yeah. Bloody Jordan Sweet. As I said, wish I had Goldie last week. That would have been a nice 94 would have had in my team. What do we got here? We got a couple more here because I'll let people get ready with their teams. Plus, I've got the watch along to do tonight. Jake Sutton, when McAuliffe's probably getting the sub again this week, is he a must trade next week before he bleeds too much money? I'm still thinking he might not get the sub, to be honest. I'm thinking with Prestia out, he comes back into the 22. And I know teams don't normally like playing the same guy sub multiple weeks. I know some people do, like Brandon Campbell's done it multiple times for Sydney. Who have you got? Sonti, Kazitsky, McAuliffe, Short, Graham. I'd hope it'd be someone like Sonti instead of McAuliffe or whatever. But what are your thoughts of McAuliffe? Do you think he could be the sub?
I definitely think he could be the sub. But I think he had 12% game time. He still scored 20 points, and he was everywhere. He had seven disposals in 12% game time last week. I don't know if he's necessarily a must trade out. He might be someone that I just hold on to for a little bit longer. I think that if I'm looking to bank cash next week, it's Lockie Sullivan down to a 200K for me.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with that.
That's the kind of player I'm looking at doing.
Because they're saying that Collingwood, I think it might have been John Routh said, I think Fox Footy was it last week, that they said they expect a fair few players for Collingwood to be back post the bye, or whatever, back in the team. So that's where Sullivan his position could maybe be in question there. MTG FAQ says, would you tick off McRae to Schoenmaker, McAuliffe to Dowling, and Sullivan to Goulden? Other option would be Oliver to Simpkin instead of one of the downgrades. So, yeah, obviously that's Finn McRae then. So Finn McRae to Schoenmaker, McAuliffe to Dowling, and Sullivan to Goulden. Would you do those three trades, or would you go Oliver to Simpkin instead of one of the downgrades?
Oh, that is a tough one. Look, I think I lean to the first set of trades just because I think you end up with an additional premium next week. But that one's a real line ball call. I think a lot of that will come down to bench health outside of the players you're bringing in, because I just want to be wary of the fact that Ari has been flirting on the outside of the 23 for, let's say, 6 weeks at this point. Give or take the time that he spent off with concussion. But it's taken 3 defenders going out in order for him to make it in.
Yeah, exactly. It probably also depends because they're bringing in Schoenmaker and Dowling. Maybe they're around 15. If they got 2 new players playing around 15, maybe you just go get Dowling and then do Oliver to Simpkin. But if you can make it work, would you be happy to bring in 2 rookies who ran 15 by if you can make it work? Or do you think...
I think it's fine.
You wouldn't want to be... Yeah, you think it's fine?
I think it's okay. But again, that's something about every team has a different buy structure. I'm happy doing it. Like I bought in Dowling last week, even though he had the round 15 buy, because he was someone who came with the pedigree of scoring, and I knew that I was only going to really need him on field for, let's say he's on field for 2 weeks. But it's all about then a percentages game. It's like, what's the likelihood he's going to be in my best 18? I was happy with it, and then knowing that I still had extra trades to make. But that's extremely dependent on, what premiums you have on buy, how many players you have on buy. I think it's absolutely fine as a strategy. And I think once we tip over about week 13, your strategy around rookies does shift a bit. And I know that Lemon's someone who's talked about this, which is just look to maximize the cash where you can. Go for 1 week's worth of scores when you need it, but don't be too beholden to, they're not the perfect rookie for me. Because by the time we get through to around, let's say 17, 18, most teams will be through their best cash generating rookies. and it'll be the flicking around of sideways players that'll be where you're going to look to generate cash.
Yeah. I can also hear your pen writing notes down on your notepad or whatever that you got there as well.
Yes, so. there is a little bit of that going
on. We'll go 2 more questions here as well. Liam Quartermain, Luke Ryan or Caleb Sarong? I'm Luke Ryan just because if you can make it work during the buys, it's going to be a little bit easier to get, I guess, a Sarong. He's cheaper, and Luke Ryan could, if he goes another 120, he could be near 1.05, and you're not getting him for a long time.
Yeah. Alternatively, okay, here's the question I'll ask you, Bails. What do you see Luke Ryan averaging for the rest of the season? Knowing that he's just come out of possibly one of the best runs of games you can imagine. He's basically had green matchups every week for 5 weeks.
Yeah, but then he's got like another month of green matchups, I'm pretty sure, post that Sydney matchup. I think he's got...
He's just got a lot of kind of middling, not hard, not easy.
He's got Richmond, Hawthorn, Melbourne, West Coast. I could see that being a good 4-week stretch as well. I think he's 105 plus, I think, from here. I think he's 105 to 115 at 115 is probably if he continues at this pace rest of the year. He could do a Doherty type year where he just goes and keeps going, but I'll probably see more of that 105 to 110 range, I think, which technically means he's overpriced because he's priced at what?
He's overpriced because he's 119. He's the most expensively priced player at the game at this point. So I personally lean a little bit more towards Sarong.
Yep.
Just because I feel like he's going to be more consistent for the rest of the year, and he's more matchup proof. And I'm also, and we talked about it on Tuesday, I'm of a believer that to some degree teams might do something to make that ball control at all costs style a little bit more difficult for Fremantle, particularly because they used it to such great effect, combined with their clearance dominance to absolutely destroy Melbourne, who up until that point had been underperforming, but were hardly an easy beat. I think we'll see a little. I would be surprised if we didn't see a little shift from some teams that we might have thought were happy to just allow things to happen and shift towards, okay, we need to shift a medium-sized forward to spend more time sitting next to Ryan and change our defensive structure, or we push our smaller half forwards far deeper into the pockets to make that switch back across to Ryan, who then kind of controls things just a little bit more difficult. So I lean more towards Sarong, but I also know that of the people kind of talking out in the community this week, that's definitely not the majority position.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think both are great options. I could definitely see people why they'd go for Sarong. I think both. You could go either. Lelis has got this one, probably been asked 100 times, but Dunkley or Sarong, I think fairly easy for me. It's Sarong.
Yeah, I'm pro Sarong.
Yeah, I don't think Dunkley's a bad option either. I know he's been average a bit since round 6, but I still think I could see him. He can if he averaged 120 over the next 4 weeks. I don't think any of us would go, "Oh, we didn't see that coming." So, I still think
both have unique. Both have top tier ability to put together a string of 115 plus scores.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I lean more towards Sarong. But exactly. I wouldn't begrudge anyone that went Dunkley otherwise.
Yeah. And the final thing I'll just say, a few people have been stressing here about Marshall and saying RP Marshall owners. Don't get me wrong, it's not great, but Marshall is still a very good footballer. I don't expect Marshall to play full-time forward. He's still going to be sharing. And Zach Jones is the sub. That they'll make that, I'm pretty sure, unless there's an injury, they will make the Campbell sub out maybe midway through the third quarter and the last quarter, and Marshall be solo ruck. And Marshall can score well. If he scores a few goals, then that's fine as well. So I'm not insanely worried about it, but I'm not expecting a 120 or anything like that. If I was even expecting that tonight, it might be more of a 85 to 110 type score instead. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see how he goes anyway. But that will do us, as I've got to get ready for the watch long. But Liam, mate, thank you very much for jumping on, and at least didn't have to talk for an hour solo. So very thankful that you got home roll to jump on and have a bit of a chat. It was a very good chat, mate. Where can the people find you across the socials, mate?
You can find me on Twitter at Liam AFL W Fantasy. absolutely in despair that we now can't stalk on what people are liking anymore. And you can find Free Kick at Free Kick W Pod on Twitter and Instagram as well.
Yeah, I saw that. That was an interesting change from
Yes,
Twitter.
that's a kind way of putting it there, Bails.
Yes. Yeah. Twitter's a interesting, or X as they call it now. It's a very interesting.
No,
place
I'm
these
still
days.
I'm anti calling it X. It's the stupidest marketing
It's
exercise of all time.
Yeah, it's Twitter. It's still Twitter for me. So, and you can find me at Bails DT on the socials. You can find Fantasy Fanatics at AFL Fantasy Fans. Tim, you can find at Tim Guest AU, and Jordox, you can find at Jordox 2020. Make sure you go and follow the boys and follow us on there. If you did enjoy the video on YouTube and you enjoyed the stream, make sure you smash a thumbs up on the video. That'd be very much appreciated. 100 likes would be fantastic. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you are listening back to the pod, make sure you leave us, or if you can, please leave us a 5-star rating and review. That would be very, very much appreciated. We appreciate everyone that tunes back into the playback of the pod after the live is up. So good luck, everyone, this week in round 14. Tricky week this week and next week, but hopefully you be good this week and come out the other side of it. And yeah, if you want to tune into the watch along, Brisbane versus St Kilda and chat some fantasy, get some more questions answered regarding teams and stuff, or just want to sort of just sit around with me for a few hours and watch the Brisbane St Kilda game, make sure you head along there. I'll be live in just under half an hour at 7:30 Eastern, 5:30 p.m. per time, doing a bit of watch along. So if you guys want to tune into that, make sure you do. So thanks, guys, for tuning in. We'll catch you guys on Sunday at the normal time for our post-round review. But until then, we'll catch you guys then. We're out. See ya.
See ya.